So today we're going to be looking at the brand new post-patch tactics. Now, obviously we've got the 95 depth has been taken away to some extent. I've seen people still run it, but it most definitely is not as effective as previous. But to be honest, I've not even really been running the 95. So we're going to go for the standard. I have kind of changed my tactics on how we go forward in this. There's a couple that I use, but this is going to be the 4-2-2. So this is the team that I'm currently playing with. There is obviously Del P that I'm trying to kind of upgrade into a team of the season, but you'll see why that I want a very specific card in itself. And we have been using a bit of Osagli as well, to be fair to him. He's actually been relatively fine, to be fair. So let's just get straight into the team management with it. With this, obviously, I've create a brand new kind of tactics so you can see it in general. So we can obviously leave this one in and then you can have the codes for it. So the way that I do this is obviously if you go into the 4-2-2, we then change the preset to the custom and then we go into change our formation to the 4-2-2-2. So what this is going to have is it's going to be quite a narrow formation. What I found when you have got the players that have got the ability on the ball, the wingers are great, and I will have the formation slightly. You've obviously got with and without the ball, but we haven't changed anything like that at the moment. Now, I have been switching styles. I'm still so unsure with this new patch what I prefer. I always like the balance. It's always my best build-up style. As to be honest, it's varied. It kind of keeps it going. I'm more of that case. The short passing has definitely been an interesting one for me. I've never been a counter because I just think it's just pointless to me. I don't like necessarily the transition to be too quickly. It does tend to just be very almost predictable of what you're doing. The short passing is good as obviously you don't have to go with a short pass. You can bring the ball back to the keeper. You can obviously bring the ball back left, right and center. It doesn't necessarily go too crazy. But I personally like the balance. It's kind of my build-up style. Then obviously we've got the defensive approach, we've got the balance, we've got the high, and we've got the aggressive. Now, for me, a lot of people would go for the aggressive. I'm still going with the high. It's what I've kind of gone with throughout most of this game. You can obviously adjust it a little bit. I think I've gone as far to say a 75 was as most as I was going for. But now, to be honest, I'm finding 7 to be more than enough for what you're trying. What I would suggest is obviously if you are trying to go into a second formation, so say maybe you've got a 4-2-2, if you're winning 2-0, it's foot champs, you want to hold the lead, you don't know how you've got the 2-0, so you need to bring it back, then potentially bring it back deep. You want to get on that line, get everybody back. It depends on what you're trying to do, but I normally go with the middle approach of going with that high defensive approach. So if you're looking for coins, check in the description for El Dorado. Depending on the coin amount that you're looking for, the delivery time is displayed on the website, and you'll see lots of different trusted sellers with reviews on specifics and also the ability to be able to pick who you want. It will also show how much they have in stock, and obviously you can see that they are verified members. There is 100% refund ability and also 24/7 support if you need any questions with your coin needs. Also, if you head over to Trustpilot as well, you can see over 30,000 upvotes for them. You can see how reliable they are. Obviously great feedback across the entire board with El Dorado. So when on checkout, make sure you are using the code JT11 for 5% off your order every time. Discount code JT11. Now let's get back to the video. Let's get into the roles because that's kind of the standard. I think that for me is the perfect setup when it comes to the build-up style and the defensive approach. Leave it down below if you've got a different approach that you personally prefer and let me know your thoughts about it. When it comes to the roles, these are obviously going to be the most important. Now, keeper-wise, I will be changing. It's kind of just been I don't really like any of the team of the season keepers. Roulé doesn't really suit my style. Raya's too small. And really, there's just not been anybody else that has kind of taken my fancy. I would go with Van der Sar. I'd go with a bit of Donnarumma potentially. But they've just never been packed. So I'm not going to buy a keeper. So it's been Courtois the whole way forward. But a goalkeeper plus would actually be quite nice right about now. I'm not necessarily the biggest sweeper keeper fan. It doesn't really work in my repertoire, so I keep it as goalkeeper and also defend. When it comes to the centre-backs, now obviously this is the biggest kind of flex for them, is the defender pluses. Now obviously you've got multiple ways, you can go balance or defence. I will obviously always go defence on these two. You could again go with the two changes. You got ball playing defender. For me, no. I keep my back line quite literally as it stands right here. So you again can go with the defence. What I found with this is when you go on here and put both of these on defense, it narrows them down quite a lot, but then they spread out when it comes to being without the ball. So obviously when, the other way around, when you've got the ball, you obviously are spread in a little bit, but when you spread out, you obviously do find them without the ball kind of holding their line a little bit. What this allows personally is that tight ship through the middle. With the back line anyway. So I personally go with the 2 fullbacks and the 2 centre backs on defender plus plus, fullback plus plus, and all on the defence. I'm keeping these absolutely here. Where it kind of then gets a little bit more less defensive, we look into the CDMs. Now, you've got Gullit and Vitinha. They have both been fantastic for me. But with Vitinha, I am changing him to a deep line playmaker. So what the difference between the two is here is obviously you've got yourselves the deep line playmaker, which is obviously focus on kind of cutting down the passing lanes, trying to stop them getting into the defensive zone. You can obviously have them in the build-up, you can have them in roaming, or you can have them in the defense. Now, obviously with this, it makes it very difficult as both players are exceptional on their ability. They are both fantastic with what they want to do. So obviously when you've got the likes of Gullit, he's got defend, he's got roaming, which will be across the line, and you've got the ball winning. Now, for me personally, I would go defending, and I would personally go with the the build-up play. Just because what you're going to have is, you'd have Gullit kind of sitting in behind him. You'd then obviously have him potentially building up, and this is where the certain style of play works. Because it's not about lumping the ball left, right, and centre. It's getting the ball out, having this kind of play, and they both will be very similar together, so you could go with one or the other, but it's about finding the Vitinha and bringing him forward. When you've obviously got Gullit, you want to keep him back. You don't necessarily want him too crazy up there. He can still come up in the later stages of the attack, but you've got to remember, he's got to come back as well. But it's why I personally, if I have overrun him a bit too much, this back line should always be here. We then go up into the cams. Now we've obviously got Bruno Fernandes and Del P. I personally will have Bruno Fernandes as a cheap beast as the playmaker plus. And then I would also have this guy right here in Del P as the shadow striker. So with these two personally, we've got them both on the plus plus, which I think is the most important factor. And it's why I won't wait necessarily too much when it comes to waiting to upgrade him as such, because I need that Shadow Striker plus plus. Whether that does come within a role, that could happen with some players, but it's not as of yet. When it comes to what I'm actually putting them at with the balance or attack, we would obviously go with Del P as the attack option. It's the only one I can go with. And then you've got obviously Bruno. For him personally, it's quite an easy one. You would always go Roman for him. What I want to translate with that is Bruno is across the box. He's almost a fourth attacker that comes in behind the strikers, can go down the wing, can obviously come behind Del P as well, but is roaming across the attacking line. Whereas then it's quite simple with Dalglish and Ronaldo. Obviously they both will be on the advance forward. It's the best I've personally had when it comes to a striker, and obviously you would go with an attack. I don't think you'd need to go any more than that. The complete is fine, but for me it's always been advance forward and attack. The strikers, to be honest, in any formation has never changed for me. So what that does is we almost have the Vitinha that would kind of pop up. So you have your back line that stays at the back. You have Vitinha that kind of builds up with it. Gullit stays in that centre zone. Fernandes goes across the whole of the box. Del P is added as almost a third striker, almost like a left wing to Dalglish's right and Ronaldo's middle if he was going in that zone. And you can flip it. It depends on what you personally prefer. Obviously, I could swap over and move Fernandes over this way, and we could just go ahead and swap like that. That's absolutely fine as well. What I found is it doesn't really matter too much because you'll find your certain zone. I suppose it does depend if you are having a build up with your fullbacks, then maybe you'd want that zone to be where Fernandes is. So say if I want him to be in balance, he's obviously going to push up a little bit, meaning when I'm going here, Fernandes could still roam across, but Lala could be the option for the attacking wingback potential. So that's if you wanted to go into an attacking wingback, I could have him here with the balance, and almost it's like that. It's a constant attack. So we get Gullit, Hernandez, Van Dijk and Barzagli as the defenders. Vitinha floating in the middle. Fernandes is obviously in the middle as well. Del P's adding as a shadow striker. And Lala's cutting round as the attacking wingback. The only problem I have with attacking wingbacks, especially with any sort of whipped pass or crosses, they just don't do anything. So unfortunately, it is a bit of a lost cause for that. Then obviously you've got your assignments. To be honest, it's a lot of the time a quick corner anyway, so I don't necessarily go too much on the instructions. Maybe if you wanted to go for like a Ronaldo in the middle, just to potentially try and get an overhead kick if you find that he's not bringing the keeper out, it's always a potential. And that is going to be the list for the 4-2-2-2. Let me know if you want to know any of the formations and we'll give them a try out and see how well they go. If you want the code, it should be in the description or at least a comment down below.